Hi, I'm Elise. I was a midwife and now I'm pursuing a self-employed career.
Hi, I'm Phil and I work for the BBC and I am an executive producer looking after football. Okay, so Elise, how long have you had diabetes? When were you diagnosed?
I was diagnosed quite late in life, about 4 years ago, so I was 24.
Okay, yeah, so my story is quite different. Yeah, no, I'm very different. So I was 10
Wow.
and walked out of school one day and my mum standing there in tears and off I went to the hospital and
Wow.
and that was it. So yeah, so I'm 45 years now, so a little bit different to yourself.
So Phil, how did you manage your diabetes when you first started work?
I think it's fair to say it's very different to how it is now. You know, I was on a system of 2 jabs a day. I was doing, you know, finger pricking, blood glucose, and in order to sort of do my job properly, it was very busy. I was travelling a lot. It was quite difficult. What I did do was try to let people know who I was working with about it. So Elise, how did you manage your diabetes when you first started work?
I was quite nervous to tell people because I was quite newly diagnosed as well, and I wasn't sure what my rights were and how to kind of manage work with diabetes really. So I kind of tried to make my diabetes work around my job, which was quite difficult for the first year. You know, I was working night shifts and they're 12.5-hour shifts as well, so they're quite long. And then it was only through my boss realising that I had diabetes and saying, well, why, you know, you don't need to work night shifts. And they've been very accommodating and they changed that for me. Are your colleagues part of your support network at work?
Very much so. I rely on them a lot. They're all aware of the fact that I have diabetes. Sometimes it will be my wife and family and my work sort of friends looking after me. So they seem to have this pact between them that they keep me out of, that they just sort of keep an eye on me. So I had an occasion in Russia at the World Cup in 2018 whereby, as I would do, I rung home every evening, check how everybody was. And my wife got the sense after many decades of experience that maybe, you know, my levels were a bit low. So off the back of the phone call, she immediately called the production manager. And next thing I know, I've got sort of a knock on my door and there you go, Paula says you need that. And I'm like, I'm fine, I'm actually fine.
How do you know?
No, you're not, drink that.
And I think it's that support from your colleagues that you need to be able to go back to a workplace every day with diabetes.
It gives you confidence, doesn't it? Sort of carry on knowing they've got your back.
Exactly.
And then, yeah, you can. It doesn't affect your ability to do your job. It's just something that people need to be aware of.
Yeah. Did your diabetes management change over the course of your career?
Hugely, actually. So I joined the BBC in 1989 and worked my way through being an assistant producer. And you know, right at the start, I'd be on a regime of 2 jabs a day, you know, urine tests, and even then, sort of finger pricking was relatively new, and then I'd go on to that, and then it would be on to, you know, eventually insulin pens and 5-6 jabs a day, to where I am now, of course, with an insulin pump and sensors in my arm and the Freestyle Libre, which has been, you know, has transformed my life and my work life.
I mean, in the last 3 to 4 years, there's been so much advancement with the technology, and when I was studying to be a midwife and for my first year of my career, then I was finger pricking and having to, you know, you were wearing gloves most of the time, so you had to take them off, go and quickly do that, and whilst it's making the whirring noises, whilst you're telling the woman that she's doing great. And going from that to the Freestyle Libre 2 system, where now I just have full confidence that it will alert me if I go high or low. It's definitely changed for the better. What were some of the challenges in managing your diabetes while at work?
I think probably the biggest thing is the nature of my job, is it tends to be quite irregular, particularly during tournament times and event times. You know, it's very long hours, very intense hours. You don't know when you're going to be able to eat, when you're going to be able to take a break. You know, live television doesn't stop.
Yeah, it's probably where our jobs actually are quite similar, in the long hours and unpredictable times of when and if you get a break, and then having to kind of meal prep and think about what you want to eat through the day.
And it's different, you know, it's been a case of these sort of different time zones and things. So you're flying and then, you know, you've got to reset everything and, you know, just you know, you become quite mathematical in your head and sort of, right, okay.
And you have to think about it, don't you? You don't really get a choice. You have to plan, and
you never get a break
know.
from diabetes,
Yeah.
do you? What were some of the challenges in managing your diabetes whilst at work?
Well, one specific example would be if one time I was mid-delivering a baby, and my hands started shaking, and I realised that my blood sugar was going low, and I had to call in another midwife to come and help me whilst I quickly sorted myself. I think I learned the importance of how you need to be kind to yourself as well, especially at a hard job that's long hours, and just understanding that your blood sugars aren't always going to play ball, and not being too hard on yourself about that, and doing all the steps that you can do to make sure that you are as controlled as possible by being prepared and healthy eating. But you know, every diabetic eats chocolate every now and then and has a spike, and that's totally fine.
I think that's the thing, as sort of years gone on and I've had it, so for 40 plus years now, only now when I've started to talk to sort of younger people and what have you about it and how they can manage it and how they look after themselves, it can be a real positive talking about it and telling people about it and sort of giving people the sort of your experiences, and they think, oh, well, if I'm in that situation, maybe I could do this, or maybe I could do that, and therefore hopefully it can benefit other people as well.
Yeah.
And I find that a real,
definitely.
I'm really happy to do that.
Yeah, me too. And I now I wear my patch with pride now, and you know, if you see somebody else in public wearing it, I'd literally run to them and I'm like, you're a diabetic.
Yeah.
And then you've instantly got something in common with them, and you just chat for however long, you know.
And there's a fair few of us out there, it's fair to say.
Yes.
So you know, you're not alone, and I think the more exposure and the more we can talk about it, the better.
The better.